Sahara Spars, Commander Spars, if you will, right? You've done a whole lot of good for women of color in the military, and thank you. I appreciate what you did for their hair. But the thing is, you're now in WOW, Women of Wrestling, and you're going against Reina Del Rey from Long Beach, California, and let me tell you, we don't mess around. After this match, the only attention you're gonna get is from a medic.
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. This is your host, Mr. Green, and we've got another episode of WOW, Women of Wrestling to review. This is the 19th episode so far. They have not gone into any hiatus. Surprise, surprise, and congratulations to them. You know what? Let's just jump right on into it. Let's go right into the whole thing here. Because, as I've said in some other previous episodes, and I'm way off, I'm going to apologize. I am in a time warp. I am lost in the sauce as far as getting this stuff out in an orderly fashion because of one massive setback that took place a couple of weeks ago. So it let some stuff pile up. Even though I was still writing and reviewing the episodes so that I can get back to it. You know, it's the catching up portion. That's where it gets a little rough. But we're still working on that. So in any case, they will be released. I will be continue to release it. Don't you worry. Don't you fret. And I'm going to make it quick this time as far as sponsorship is concerned. So I will say at the beginning right now that if you feel that you can produce women's wrestling better, and I say better than what you see on TV with WOW and perhaps other locations, then you don't want to waste your time. Sorry, I had a little hiccup there. You don't want to waste your time. Go ahead and get yourself together and create that match at CustomVixensWrestling.com. Just the way I said it, Custom Vixens, Vixens with an S, Wrestling.com. Their next big show, as I am recording this, is February 25th. That is the next big shoot. It will feature young ladies like Malibu, Austin Madison, who you can see on our channel, Riley Jade, Fantasy, Misty Day, Nina Monet, who is part of WOW as Siren, and you can also see her in her previous incarnation, Nina Monet, on my channel. The Woad, who you can see several times and then several incarnations, along with the Black Widow, who you can see on our channel as well. And there are a few other ones in between. So if you have a match that you can imagine featuring those talents and maybe some of the other ones that the Rock and Roll Roxy may bring into the fold, then don't just fantasize about it. Don't just imagine it. Book it. Book the match. Go to CustomVixensWrestling.com. Again, their next big show is February 25th. And you can get your match taken on their film day. And if that is not good enough, if you just don't have the imagination or the booking skills to put together a match, you know what you can do? You can go in their clearance videos section, get some of those other ones, or you can go just right to their shop and buy some of the matches that have already been produced and that you might not have seen, may just be new to you. Now, if it were me, I probably would take Austin Madison as my baby face and put her up against maybe, Nina Monet. You know, depending on what version of Nina I can produce. I think we'll go with Voodoo Queen Nina Monet. And got to get the heat on Austin throughout the whole, you know, the most of this match. And, you know, maybe we'll have her overcome at the end. I don't know. Depends on what my angle is. So, you know, that was just one off the top of my head. Maybe not my best. But you can do it. You can get there. You can find your match. You can produce it. Just go to CustomBigSenseWrestling.com. All waiting for you right there. Let me have a little swig of my energy drink here. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Much better. I have to wet my palate as I continue to talk and go over what has happened in these recent weeks of WoW. And we're starting with episode 19. And episode 19 starts off with pretty much the same thing we get with every show setup. Now, I will say that the graphics are changing. They have a little setup scene that goes on at the beginning of the show that to kind of give you the rundown, and that's what this segment is for. It's a preview of tonight's main event. G.I. Jane, Ice Cold, The Disciplinarian versus Jesse Jones, Big Rig, Betty, and Holly Swag. New intro, new graphics, good stuff. They still have David McClain come up there and do his thing because you can't have WoW open without him saying welcome to WoW for 2 minutes. So that still exists. The first match of the show, Exile taking on the Heavy Metal Sisters. Where do we begin with this? I have notes in front of me, by the way. I'm just getting my mind together on how I can even relate what I'm thinking about this match from what I recall and what I have on my notes. It is an interesting situation. First off, the commentators are talking about something that has not been related to on screen. And I noticed that they do this quite a bit. They'll say something that has not ever been seen. Or if it had been seen, it had been seen in previous seasons to where people who just starting this have no concept of what they're talking about. No clue. So they're talking, they being the commentators, about the Heavy Metal Sisters perhaps don't get along anymore. All right, so my question there is, at what point in the course of this season has that ever been shown? I mean, because if I'm wrong and if I missed it, I've watched every week since they've been on. But if I'm wrong and I missed it, I mean, please, somebody, anybody, put it in the comments like, oh, no, they did show this. They were on the, this took place episode 5. I don't know. But if you know something that I'm missing, because I have not seen it, I haven't heard them say it. I haven't seen any vignette about it. I haven't heard anybody talking about it just on the side. It just hasn't happened as far as I know. And this is a heel versus heel match. Again, why? Why are we having this? It's a heel versus heel match with literally no setup to it whatsoever. It's just a match just to fill time, and, where's it going to go? They didn't even say that this is going a long way to, getting you a title shot. It's just there. And I apologize for this cough that I just had there. That wasn't good for podcasting, but we will continue on. So we got this heel versus heel match because, again, they haven't been established anything as far as one team changing or another, one being sympathetic babyface, nothing like that. It's just, this is what I would call a cold match. It's not going anywhere, doesn't serve any purpose, doesn't forward any angle or storyline. It's just here for the sake of being here. One thing I did give a thumbs up to when I saw it was Mesmer was on the outside. This is good. She is, at this point, more of a mascot than a manager or a wrestler. She doesn't really provide advice. She doesn't really intervene or interfere. She doesn't speak on behalf of the team. She doesn't really intercede in what they're doing. She just kind of hangs around. I mean, she does what they tell her to do. But outside of that, there's really nothing that Mesmer provides. Shit. Hope I can edit that out. Anyway, there's nothing that she provides to the Heavy Metal Sisters other than her presence. The team is represented by Razor and Fury, and Exodus and Genesis represent Exile. Although, in the case of Exile, I was going to say Mariah. I don't know where that came from. Malaya Hosaka is a great manager for them. And she's great for them overall because she provides them some level of experience. She can tell them, hey, you guys should slow down. You should do this. The teamwork should be a little better. This, that, and the other. I'm sure she has a plethora of advice that she can offer. She cheated during the match like she should do, like a active manager would. So, I think Exile gets the plus on this side. Now, the team themselves don't have a lot of experience as it relates to the Heavy Metal Sisters. The sisters, Razor and Fury, both have, existing life outside of WoW. So, they are, in terms of what they can do in ring-wise, much more experienced than their opposition. The match, again, is pretty much a cold match, so let's just get down to what the finish was. So, you have the Heavy Metal Sisters taking control of the match. And they are... Which one did they have? I think it was Genesis in their corner. So, you have Razor and Fury taking control of Genesis. They're doing like the round-robin kicking the corner deal. They take her down with like a double complete shot. Exodus, was it Exodus? Exodus comes in to make the save, and then Exile takes control. They get which one? Fury. Why do they have these stupid names? See, I want to call her Harlow because that's been her name, Harlow. They take Harlow into the corner, double bulldog out. They get ready for the pin. That gets broken up as Razor comes in. I forget her name also. They push Genesis over into the corner, and then the Heavy Metal Sisters take control again. And this is where it goes off the rails because Mesmer gets up onto the apron and decides that she's going to hold on to their opponent while both Heavy Metal Sisters charge in to hit her. So at the end of the match, Mesmer gets herself involved. She gets up on the apron while the Heavy Metal Sisters have a hold of, I believe is Exodus. Exodus is being double teamed by both members of the Heavy Metal Sisters, Fury and Razor. Mesmer gets up on the apron. She decides that she is going to intervene. I don't know why. And the referees come off as completely incompetent in these type of situations because they can't apparently see anything. And it takes very little to distract them. I mean, like the second somebody says or does anything, they are just lost in the sauce. They turn around, they start yammering with whoever, and they're just like, what are you doing? What's going on? So I don't know. I miss the days when referees had some kind of authority where they actually looked like they were, respected as individuals in the ring. But anyway, that's a whole different story for a whole nother time. All right, so as I was saying, the end of the match, you have the Heavy Metal Sisters taking control, or at least the attempt to take control. Mesmer gets up on the apron. The sisters then toss Exodus into the ropes. Mesmer catches her. Now, under normal circumstances, that would have bumped her off of the apron, but we're not going to go with against the grain of the wild logic right now. She hooks both arms of Exodus, holding her for her sisters to charge in and hit her. Again, where the referee is at this particular point, I don't know, because they didn't put the camera on him, and there's no way he couldn't have seen that. But they charge in, they hit Mesmer, knock her off. Razor says, hey, go down and check on her. Fury leaves the ring. While the ref's back is turned, still somehow he's talking to Malaya Hosaka. Both members of Exile come in and do their version of total elimination. They drop Razor 1, 2, 3. Match is over with, and we have winners. Exile gets the win. They are still green, but I have to say that if they continue to work with and under Malaya Hosaka, they could get somewhere. I can only hope that they get the opportunity to continue to work with the veteran that they have assigned to them. And better yet, if they, I don't know what WoW's rules are for that, and they probably don't, want anybody leaving that stuff, but if they had the chance to take the act of Exile on the road, I mean, at least within the local independents in California, they shoot in California, assuming that they live there, then I was like, you know what? They need to be doing that because they could get so much better. And I know Malaya has a ton of information to share with them and get them, efficient and just the way that they should be, a well-oiled machine in the ring. I know that that exists, but they're probably not going to do that. So I'm wasting my breath. But it would be nice to see them go that far. I also wanted to make one point. There was a period of time where I said that WoW would drop full episodes of their shows on YouTube. So if you didn't catch it on TV, you at least caught a version of it on YouTube. That version being minus all the vignettes, all the things that take place in between the matches. They only show the matches. They don't show all the little setups and, like I said, the vignettes, the backstage stuff, and all that stuff. All that's gone. So if you're just wanting to see the match, you can watch full episodes, although they have skipped some. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is behind which episodes they put up and which ones they don't, but is there. That's all I was going to say. It's there for you to watch and consume. The next segment is a recap of more events leading into the main event, and is also the introduction of Jennifer Gen Z Flores. And we know how this goes, okay? It's a full video package. The video package looks great. It's everything that you expect. It's a package on who she is, why she's in WoW, what she likes to do, etc., etc. Very well done. But I also put in my notes, and I highlighted it with blue, she's probably losing. Why did I put this, by the way, for those who might be just tuning in or hearing this for the first time? Because WoW has this stupid rule, or they have this stupid pattern, that when they introduce somebody with a big segment and it opens up and all that stuff like that, 9 out of the 10 times that person's going to lose. It's just a given. And most often, I've been right. So, and now I did put something a little bit out of order here on my paper. So I'm going to say, if I'm reading this out of sequence, don't get on me about it. I just, I put it in this paper out of order. All right. So, segment 5. We are going to, this is Coach Campanelli and Randy Rara. This sets up a match for the Coach and Rara against the Tonga Twins. And for whatever reason, Coach Campanelli has Randy Rara doing jumper jacks. So This team is still going forward. Rah-Rah 2.0 is still under the sway of the coach somehow being good for her. I'm not sure at what point in this thing she got that impression like, oh, yeah, it's great to have the coach on my team. Although, in fairness to the Rah-Rah character, since she has teamed up with the coach, she has not lost. So that's probably as good a reason as any. The coach, of course, is there to be arrogant and overbearing jerk. Waiting for her to do the turn because I expect them to do the turn. If they don't, then I was like, what is all this for? Because Coach Campanelli comes off as a heel oftentimes, talking over Rah-Rah when they have interview segments and things like that. And Rah-Rah 2.0, she seems oblivious to the world around her. She just like a deer in headlights. So we're expecting this to happen at one point or another. And I expect the coach to be continuing on as a comedy fodder for multiple people as the weeks go by. Next segment, Gigi Gianni taking on Jennifer Gen Z Flores. A decent match, better than what I expected, but the debuting star lost. Just like I expected her to. Not entirely sure what the logic behind let's get this person the big superstar entrance and then have them lose, where that comes from. But Wild does this all the time. And at some point, you think they'd at least give that a rest. It doesn't even make sense. People who do not watch wrestling that I've asked is like, that didn't make any sense. They see this thing as like, okay, I'm waiting and I want to see this person win. I'm behind them now. And then the first thing they do is go out there and lose. It doesn't make sense to them, as it should not, because it is stupid and it doesn't make sense. So let's just get to the end of the match, because I do like Gigi Gianni. She probably needs more matches underneath her to just kind of get polished up. But at the end of the match with Flores and Gianni basically breaks free from a flurry of assault with like a double chop on Flores, scoops her up, takes her over with a power slam, 1, 2, 3. Not only did she beat her, but she beat her clean. Didn't even cheat. That Flores has nothing to complain about here. She has no gripe. She has no beef to be like, oh, well, she held my tights or she put out some knucks and nothing. Nothing like that. Just 1, 2, 3, straight up, done. Over with. Why? Why do we have these things? Again, I like Gigi. I thought could do well in a tag team environment with her partner Gambino. But that was the other thing. Throughout the course of the match, or at least at the beginning, the commentators made it clear that her partner abandoned her. So now I'm like, all right, is she a babyface? Are we setting her up to be liked? Or are we just explaining the situation? Which also goes back to, they just started as a tag team. And there was no exit. Now I know that, you can't always control that, especially in this environment, because Wild tapes like 2 or 3 times in a year. They do marathon tapings and they get all this stuff in. And if anything changes, they can't do anything about it. They have no ability to alter the footage that they have already. Now, I have made other suggestions. I've said that they should make it a point that, okay, if you sign up for WOW, you need to be prepared to send in videos as we need them, because sometimes it's gonna take that. It's gonna take that to tie it together. I'm not saying go outside and shoot something, because apparently Wild's probably not going to let them do it. They have their own production standard that they have to do. But every once in a while, you need to do something to tie these together. And a situation like this where Gambino's gone and Gianni's still there, but she hasn't said word one about it. They haven't set her in an interview, which, again, probably can't happen because the marathon taping is over, which certainly means they don't have any vignette explaining it. So the other thing that you could do in a situation like that is have Gianni shoot an interview herself and send it in, in such a time that it could be included in the episode. But they don't do that, so, what are you going to do? So apparently the team that I was, high on, and I said they got potential and all that good stuff, Gambino and Gianni no longer exist. That sucks. I thought they, again, had some future in front of them, but shame on me for getting, my hopes up for any team or persons that exist in WoW. Next segment, Reina Del Rey and the Beast feud is recapped as Del Rey is presented as, hey, we got unfinished business type deal against the Beast. The Del Rey thing is, this is cold now. And that's not her fault. I don't know if I can reheat that, but yeah, this is cold now. Like the second that the Beast went down, anything that had to do anything with Del Rey just stopped right along with it. Much like I said with Gianni, she never came out and cut a promo. She never said anything about what took place in the main event. She never said anything about her championship match being cheated. She never said anything about I deserved a one-on-one match. I could have taken the Beast on my own. It's not my fault that she got hurt. Where's my belt? Nothing, and these are the things you expect when stuff like that happens, but they just never, ever, ever addressed it. And now, if you go into their YouTube channel, there's some interview that she has there, but again, we're not talking about what they did on YouTube. We are talking about the stuff that they have on television. If it's not included on television, for most people, it doesn't exist. So, Del Rey, essentially by default with this video package, maintaining a top spot at WoW, but this is a cold match. There's nothing behind it. The match is Reina Del Rey versus Commander Sahara Spars. Again, somebody else who really does much of nothing as far as interacting or talking to people, the microphone, does that, nothing. She's just a person that exists. So the match itself is fine. The match is fine because we have a match between two young ladies who are well-trained, been doing this for more than just a year. And I say that, I'm not taking shots at anybody, but, let's be honest. There's a lot of people that in WoW who have only done this for about a year, and now they're thrown on national television, and they have to be good, or at least try to be better than what they have any right to be. So, let's get to Spars and Del Rey. Del Rey, again, being a top girl here. Spars, at some point in the match, applied what we used to refer to as a royal octopus hold while Del Rey was on her knees, and it looked like that might have been the finish for her. She had it tied up pretty good. But Del Rey, having a superior strength, pulls herself free from the octopus hold. Spars charges in, catches her with a nice clothesline in the back of the head, but that wasn't enough to keep her down. Again, I figured when I saw, the package that this match was about Del Rey, and it pretty much is. Spars was surprised that she couldn't keep her down with that and didn't take the time to look at her opponent, who came up behind her and essentially shoved her fingers in her mouth and kind of fish hooked her. A series of I can't really call them clotheslines. They're like that thing that Sheamus does when he has his opponent over the ropes and he just smacks him on the chest. So it's like the beating of the drums. Del Rey does that to Spars while she's on her knees on the mat. Gets her up, sets her up for a slingshot suplex of sorts. 1, 2, 3, she's done. Again, the heel wins perfectly clean. So it does great for Del Rey. She has every gripe to be like, hey, I'm still a top contender here. And I should get a match. Even though she never says that, she just said it by now. She should have been presented as such. This is why they need somebody who is going to be able to come in there and do the interviews, give them the chance to speak, and get something going forward. As it is, while oftentimes is a mismatch. Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm having to take these drinks because apparently, my throat is just going to bother me through the entirety of this thing. So, while apparently it's just like a mismatch of matches and vignettes, and oftentimes when I watch the show, I get the impression that the editors are just told, hey, we shot this, so we got to use it. There's a lot of times they have stuff that they shoot that aren't really necessary for the course of the show. It's just included because within the show, they'll just re-explain it. It just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just, oh, man. Anyhow, and I said a slingshot suplex. I meant it was like a slingshot suspended neck breaker. That's probably a better way to describe it. And that's Del Rey's finish. So she beats Spars. She beats her clean. Spars has no gripe here. We move on, and we go to the main event. Now, I had a little bit of a slight issue with this main event. The main event is something that took place and is created because Jesse Jones came in for the save on Commander Spars, right? This took place about 2 weeks ago. It might be a little bit longer than that, but we'll say about 2 weeks ago. Jones comes in for the save for the commander because she's like, well, I'm not going to let anybody that's in the military get beaten up while I'm around because we might not agree on everything. She's talking to the audience, but we love this country and I respect what you do, yada, yada, yada. Which led to Jones teaming up with Americana and teaming up also with Spars. This would have been Commander Spars. Spars didn't say anything about this. It's since from day one to now. Didn't say thank you. Didn't say we're going to take them together. I appreciate your help and blah, nothing. Again, where is that going? It transferred the heat right off of Commander Spars right into Jesse Jones's lap to make her a babyface. So we then go to at the end of that match where, and I'm talking about last week, where Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag jumped the rail and come into the ring to save them from getting beaten up from G.I. Jane, Ice Cold, the Disciplinary, and Samantha Smart. Again, a hodgepodge of people thrown together with no real rhyme or reason behind it. Why were they allowed to get into the ring? That was one thing that I had a problem with. And that's not the first time it's happened in wrestling. But they didn't explain it here. The second thing that wasn't explained is why did they go through this big trouble and vignette of showing Holly Swag and Big Rig Betty only showing up to this event because they happened to pick up Lana Starr and her band of merry thieves. And they were given free tickets when apparently they know Jesse Jones personally. They're friends. And they know that she worked there. So you're telling me that all the time that she's been there on this show, the only reason that you showed up was because you just happened to get random tickets from Lana Starr's crew and then have nothing else further to do with Lana Starr? I don't know. Didn't make a lot of sense. That vignette should have been kept out, other than the fact that, well, we needed to fix runtime, and I'm sure that's probably what it was. It was pointless. Didn't make any sense. It was just there for the sake of being there to fill time. And again, I'm going to apologize for the amount of coughing that I'm doing. So now, the match, like I said, the heat is now transferred into the hodgepodge of cartoon characters, Disciplinarian, Ice Cold, and the Teacher, the Soldier, and the Frost Queen. And, I don't know, the IQ Superior, who's so smart in the WoW universe that she has not led anybody that she's managed to win yet. So we have that. And neither does G.I. Jane, who came out to help. She doesn't explain why she's part of this to begin with. You would think at least she would have explained why she came out there and went against her fellow soldier or military personnel, But no, didn't do it. Are we getting a common theme here? That WoW doesn't explain anything? When all it would take sometimes is putting a microphone in their hand and allowing them to explain it. And you can't tell me that this had to have been planned. You can't tell me that you didn't have the time to put a microphone in G.I. Jane's hands and ask her, hey, why did you do this? You would think that you and Spars would be at least in the same, train of thought, or you would respect her as a fellow service person. Why would you join forces with them? Nope, didn't happen. And WoW is so benevolent as a company that they allowed these two who just saw them last week to jump into the main event of their show the following week, even though they weren't signed with WoW. How nice of them. Okay, so for those who are not familiar with Holly Swag or Big Rig Betty, if you've seen them on the Independents, you would have seen them as Amazing Maria. That was Big Rig Betty. That's the mother. And Holly Swag was wrestling as Holly Hood, Haley J. I know she went to OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, which is one of the big independents out there. And she also was on the NWA pay-per-view last year. I think it was 75. She being Holly Hood. She was part of the Free Babes. She was teaming up with Miranda Gordy, Jazzy Yang. And they came out as the Free Babes, which is a great team. Now, I fully understand the reasons why they took this job. Because this is, somewhat of a dream matchup for at least Amazing Maria. Maria, last I saw, she had retired because I thought she was hurt. And I did notice in the match she doesn't really take a lot of bumps. So it is very likely that she took this for the opportunity to tag with her daughter and wrestle at least once on the national platform. Holly Hood. Okay, let me just refer to her as her wild name. Holly, what is it? Swag. Holly Swag in this case is there to take the beating. The match starts off with Big Rig, but she tags out to Holly Swag, and she takes the beating for the team. Gets slammed around, takes the punches, the kicks, the leg drops, all that stuff. G.I. Jane does not come off as a natural in the ring to me. She seems somewhat stiff, and I wouldn't say uncoordinated, but she does not seem like she's got a lot of in-ring experience. I don't know that for a fact, but she just comes off that way. But again, that wasn't the point. The point being is that they were putting the heat on on Swag. And the story here is, of course, Jesse Jones getting even with the Hodgepodge crew. So Ice Cold is, probably thrilled that she has somebody in the ring that she's comparable in size to, because she's so tiny. And Hood is about as small as she is, so that made it look a little bit competitive. But again, we're talking about two young ladies, and I should say Ice Cold and Jane, who are probably not all that experienced. Smart is experienced by default because she comes in and out of WoW. She doesn't really do anything as far as wrestling outside of that. So even though she's done it for several years, her experience as a manager is also fairly limited. But better. Like all the managers that have been on the WoW have gotten better. I will give them that. So moving on. The majority of the heat was on Swag, but we get Jones back into the ring, who comes in to do the damn thing and take control of the match. She gets in there with the disciplinarian, and she's full on babyface now. She's doing the trucker move and all that stuff like that, wearing the American flag. She drops the disciplinarian with a shoulder block and then essentially forces her face down to the mat and applies her armbar. The second that thing is on, she goes right off into the tap. Samantha Smart, as smart as she is, comes into the ring and tries to take a kick at Jones, who ducks it easily, then gets a hold of the yardstick, and they all go running out. So that was, it was the match. It was not anything big. It was allegedly the culmination of a feud that took place between Jones and Samantha Smart and the disciplinarian. But really, it I don't know if I got anything out of this. It didn't really do all that much. Yes, she being Jesse Jones got her hands on Samantha Smart at some point in the match, in the six person tag a week ago. But Smart is still doing what Smart does. Now, in a normal wrestling environment, if the objective is to get a hold of Samantha Smart, it would have been something along the lines of, last week she would have gotten a couple of minutes alone in the ring with her or something like that to make people happy, and she finally got her hands on her. Or in this case, if it was, we win, I get 5 minutes alone with her or something like that. None of those things happened. And it just went down the same way that it always does. The disciplinarian loss. They didn't even put the loss on Ice Cold or G.I. Jane. They just, kind of tapped out and moved on. Again, clean win, as it should have been. The babyfaces go over clean. But where is this going to go now? Is this over with? I certainly hope so. I hope that the match that they had ends this feud, because it's a pointless feud and it's not going anywhere. So that was episode 19. I mean, they've improved some things, but by and large, this episode is a C at best in my eyes. At least 3 of the 4 matches meant nothing. Exile versus the Heavy Metal Sisters weren't going anywhere. Gianni and Gen Z. Gianni beats the debuting superhero, so, it didn't do really much for Gen Z. Let's count how many weeks it's going to be before we see her again. Reina Del Rey gets the win over Sahara Spars, who should have been in the main event, because that was what the feud was about, but she's been migrated off of that. And Del Rey beats her clean, so down the ladder she goes. And, of course, Jones, Big Rig Betty, and Holly Swag, with her new friends, win immediately. So that's that. The babyface of Jones, Big Rig Betty, Holly Swag go over on the constantly losing team of the academic probation, or what else can we call them? Team Academia, Hodgepodge crew. I don't know. Cole and the Smart. I'm just randomly naming the crap now because it's such a random collection of characters. A soldier, the Ice Queen, and a teacher walking to a bar. It sounds like a setup for a joke. Anyhow, so there we have it, folks. That was episode 19. It was decent. I put a question mark on that, and it's about as good as it was going to be. That's pretty much all I can say. A nice C episode. But it was, if it didn't have this 6-person main event, it probably would be a D. If that didn't take place, it would go down the line. So there we have it. That is my review of WoW episode 19. I apologize for all the damn coughing that I was doing in between it. I think my allergies are draining. I was trying to have this drink here so I could at least wash the cough away for the most part, but it makes it a little difficult from time to time. So anyhow, thank you for tuning in to the show. If you are going to keep up with me or this episode or these episodes or these reviews, subscribe to the WPN. Of course, have more than just these. There are matches, there are interviews and reviews and video games and stuff like that. So if you enjoy what you're hearing, make sure you click the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for those who have and those who are going to and those who will. I appreciate you all. So with that said, we're going to wrap this up and let you know that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.